Jalen Ramsey has finally been traded, but it's not to the Los Angeles Rams. We'll tell you exactly why he didn't end up back in the Horns. Also, what's next for the Rams secondary? All that more coming up next on Locked on Rams.
You are Locked on Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked on Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked on Rams, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you really want to support the show, hit the like button. Also, my podcast listeners, write us a review, and we'll read it on the show. So definitely do us a huge favor and do that. It would be great. It would mean a lot. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. Chat Sports, 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, will be back tomorrow. We'll talk all Rams with my man Trav. And on today's episode, we've got some breaking news, so let's get right into it. Jalen Ramsey has been traded, but it is not to the Los Angeles Rams. This is from ESPN. ESPN sources, the Dolphins have agreed to trade three-time All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. As a part of the trade, Ramsey will get a $1.5 million raise this season, bringing his 2025 compensation up to $26.6 million. Steelers get their man, and Ramsey gets another raise. So first, before we talk about the Rams not getting him, just look at this deal right here. To get across that finish line, the Pittsburgh Steelers gave up a three-time All-Pro safety in Minkah Fitzpatrick. Yes, he's 28. Yes, he's disgruntled there, does not want to change positions. That marriage between them was definitely headed towards a divorce, so they knew they were going to have to probably move off him at some point. But not only do you trade a All-Pro level talent, well, you also get Ramsey and give him a $1.5 million raise. So for the Rams, that is the number one reason why they did not trade for Jalen Ramsey. It's because you didn't want to go that high for a guy that is not performing at an all-pro level at this stage of his career. Sure, would he be an upgrade to some of the guys they do have in that quarterback's room? Would he elevate that group? Does he have the potential to be an impact player still? I do think he does, but at that price, that is the reason why, right? That price was just way too high for the Rams to go there. And it was reported at the end that the Rams were one of the teams that were right there for him. It was the Rams, it was the Steelers. It felt like almost it was a two-team race for him down the stretch. Ultimately, he heads to Pittsburgh, and the Rams, they're still with the group that they have. Now, you kind of see the writing was on the wall for this as far as the Rams almost preparing you for this not to happen, for them not to get Jalen Ramsey. Yes, there was the talk early in the game. Oh, we love Jalen Ramsey. Oh, he's someone that we'd be interested in. And then Sean McVay changed his tune where it was, there's going to be a lot of hurdles. And those hurdles clearly were the compensation, one, and two, how much you would have to give Ramsey and the fact that he would get a raise. So even though the Rams made a lot of sense as far as being a logical destination because of his history here, because of the fact that he wanted to go back to the West Coast, that was reported to be his preferred destination. The fact that the Rams are in win-now mode with the addition of Devontae Adams, you still have Matthew Stafford. You were able to kind of renew those vows with him, so to speak. But also, they are a team that's filled with a lot of young talent and emerging talent. And you're going to have to pay those guys pretty soon. You're trying to get a deal done with Kyron Williams, and some of these rookie deals are going to come up pretty shortly. You got Puka and Kobe Turner and Byron Young, a lot of these guys that, hey, time is kind of flying by. So you got some hungry dogs you got to feed. And if you bring in Jalen Ramsey at that price, yes, it could have made sense, like we said, as far as the team being win now and the way you could structure the deal. Maybe it doesn't force you to commit to him long term, but still, you know the kind of player he was. He wants some long-term security. He wants to be able to get paid. And the truth of the matter is the Rams are only going to pay guys that they're in love with, that they think they can get value from. And this tells me that they looked at Jalen Ramsey and they saw a guy who, sure, as we point out, he is still an above-average cornerback, but he's also north of 30 years old. And if you look at the numbers last year, his overall PFF grade, 16th out of 222, a 76.9 overall grade. Good, not great. Run defense grade, above average, top 10, 85.7. His coverage grade, though, 71.9. He was 39th out of 222 cornerbacks. So it's not like he was elite in that category. Had 2 interceptions, 12 pressures, allowed 46 receptions. That was 35th out of 222 qualified cornerbacks. So at $26 million, you should be getting elite. You should be getting all-pro. That is not what Jalen Ramsey is at this stage of his career. Sure, maybe a change of scenery. He has flashes. You'll see vintage moments, but I think it's unfair to expect that had they acquired him, he'd be able to provide that elite all-pro level performance that we saw from him years back on a snap-to-snap basis. That version of Jalen Ramsey is just not walking through that door. And then you just look at this overall deal that they had in place for him. I mean, just take a look, one more look back at it. Pittsburgh gets Ramsey. They had to give up a raise. They had to give him a raise, additional $1.5 million to get. You get Smith, the tight end, a career 17 games. I mean, average-ish stats, nothing to write home about. Not like he's going to be a massive game changer. Miami, though, you give up a player that you traded for a couple years ago, and then it's in the midst of a contract dispute, who had lost complete faith in his teammates, lost faith in his coaches who requested a position change for the betterment of the team. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that where the Rams are at, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, because they clearly didn't want Jair Alexander. You did not get him, and now you don't get Jalen Ramsey. Will this be looked at as, okay, they dodged a bullet? I think there's a chance that it does. I really do. I mean, you look at this deal right here. I mean, are the Steelers going to open up a museum for Aaron Rodgers and some of these aging players? I just think that for the Rams are at right now, it would make me feel kind of some type of way if they had gotten a lot less or he doesn't get the raise. But it just tells you that Les Snead, Sean McVay, they liked Ramsey. They didn't love Ramsey at the price that he was going to come at. So, Geno Smith, that makes it a pretty even trade. Not really. I think that at the end of the day, this was kind of a win for the Dolphins. I mean, you bring back a guy that you had traded away. He's kind of over at this part of his career, but still, I think that, hey, it's none of our business with that. But the truth is, the trade tells us as a whole that the sticking point was the money, and the Rams' bottom line were just not willing to take back that amount for a 30-year-old cornerback that's on the decline. Okay, I know this probably sounds like sour grapes because they didn't get Ramsey. It's not. It's okay. At the right price, he makes a lot of sense. When you have to go above and overpay for him, that's when it doesn't make a ton of sense in the world. I think, too, this is another indication that the Rams have a lot more faith in their current cornerback group than people around the league do. And we'll talk about that later in the show. But, yeah, Jalen Ramsey is not going to be a Los Angeles Ram. We've talked about this for months. Would I have been okay with it? I've been absolutely okay with it. I would have been happy about this at the right price. But I think when you consider where the Rams are at moving forward, this is something that I'm fine with. I just kind of talking to people, too, around the organization. I mean, just kind of working the back channels and stuff. They just didn't feel, even the most optimistic version, putting him in Chris Shula's defense, they just didn't feel like they were going to get bang for their buck. And that at this point, he's more of, wait, what'd you do for us? Not what are you going to do for us in the future, right? He's more someone that his reputation is based on years ago. But that version of Jalen Ramsey, I don't think is the version that they would have gotten. Could have been an upgrade, yes, but just because you're going to have an upgrade, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not in a better spot with the value that you could get with the current group, trying to maximize those guys and be able to save this money. Remember that the Rams are a team that has their 2 first-round picks there in the 2026 NFL draft. Not saying that they should 100% use those at the trade deadline, but the fact is, out of the contenders, they have the deepest war chest. So they're going to be able to maintain that flexibility by not pulling the trigger on this deal too. You can kind of wait to see how things play out early in the year for your cornerback group, and then if you need to address something, then you address something. But the Rams, I think, are in a position where, hey, they realize, look, not every Super Bowl contending team, Super Bowl winning team has elite shutdown cornerbacks, right? That Giants team with Eli Manning, they didn't necessarily have that, right? They got a lot of pressure up front, and you got that Patriots team where, yeah, you had Ty Law, then you end up getting Darrelle Revis back and things like that. But it's not like this is a situation like we've seen in this league where, hey, this is a position where you get that elite player, it is the last missing piece of your puzzle. That's not the case with Jalen Ramsey. And this price tag just lets me like, hey, I'm okay with walking away in this one. If I was going to the car dealership and I walked in and I saw Jalen Ramsey at this price, I would say, man, it's a really nice car. Love to drive it. Really flashy. It's really sweet. But I would have walked back to my car in the parking lot hoping that that car salesman was going to chase me down offering a better price. And that's kind of how you do things. That didn't happen in this case. The Steelers, they got their guy. They're intent on adding some of these aging veterans, and we'll see how that works out for them. But no Jalen Ramsey for the Rams, and I am okay with it. But coming up next, we're going to tell you why the Rams were more than okay with this move. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a bigger purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And I've used it. It's great. It's definitely a part of my everyday spending. And what really surprises me is just how organized it is. If you share finances with someone, you can use Monarch to help you do that, whether it's budgeting for rent, for saving, for your bills, all that stuff. They can make it really organized. And also, you can have all your accounts in one place. So that's definitely something with all the apps today, all the different places you go to. Having it in one place is definitely great. And also, it's definitely a good place to just see how your spending adds up. Whether it be for food, you'd be shocked how much money you spend on food. Just going out every day, Uber Eats, all that stuff, it adds up. So just kind of seeing it add up, I think it just is a much better financial tool to be able to do that. You can also just set those financial goals, which is great for yourself. But if you haven't got this yet, definitely go to Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also want to send a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. I see a lot of new viewers, a lot of new listeners out there. Welcome to the show. And if you haven't yet, join the Everyday Listeners Club. All you have to do is watch or listen to every single episode, Monday through Friday, on the pod or on YouTube, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. June is coming to an end, and that means we're back to 5 episodes a week. So check us out Monday through Friday, all Rams football, all day, every day, 24/7, 365. Anything drops on the weekends, you know I will drop something there. But let's continue the conversation about Jalen Ramsey and the Rams' current situation in the secondary. So one of my biggest takeaways from this deal is, even though it was reported the Rams were one of the teams in on Ramsey at the end, it also tells me that, look, we know that Les Snead is a bold, shrewd GM. We know that they have been willing to overpay to get their guy, whether it be Matthew Stafford, whether it be Von Miller. So many different examples of the Rams circling a player and saying, this is a guy that we think we need to take us to the next level, to get us over the top. I don't think they viewed Jalen Ramsey as that guy. I think they saw him as additive, as an upgrade, but not the end-all, be-all. Not just, hey, if we lose out on him, it's over. If they felt that way, they would have found a way to get him. So this definitely falls into the trust less need, trust Sean McVay category. They have rebuilt this roster on the fly by making a lot of great draft picks and retaining some of the guys they had. And I think that this, to me, is a clear indication that just because the NFL experts, the prognosticators that are going to have the Rams cornerback group at near the bottom of the league, even though those lists are going to come out, you're not going to see the Rams very high, that doesn't mean that internally they don't think that they can have, at the very least, a serviceable group that can, paired with a great defensive line, edge rushers, and a great offense, can win a Super Bowl, right? You're not going to have every team playing fantasy football with two players in the league, right? Where every single position has a superstar. It's not how this thing works, right? And there's no guarantee that, hey, having a elite cornerback that shuts down a third of the field is going to do that for the Rams. And there's no guarantee that Ramsey even was capable of doing that at this stage of his career. So I think that what this tells me is that the Rams feel a lot better about guys like Kobe Durant, Darius Williams, Ahkello Witherspoon, even deeper than that. When you go into the way that you have Woods and Wallace and Daron Kendrick is back. But the guy I want to start with is Emanuel Forbes. And if Emanuel Forbes takes to the Rams player development and he gets an opportunity, he's got the upside. Because a lot of these guys are good, average to good, but Forbes has that high ceiling because let's not forget, this was a high draft pick. This is a first-round guy. Just to get you caught up on Emanuel Forbes, I think Emanuel Forbes is a thing for the Rams. And just to rewind a little bit, the Rams claimed the former Commanders CB off of waivers. Washington, they cut him. It was a surprise. He was a 2023 first-round pick. And the Rams, they said, hey, we'll claim you. We'll give you a fresh start. We've seen something that we think we can identify that to fix you, to optimize you. And this was not like he was a late first-round pick. I mean, he was the 16th overall pick in the 2023 draft out of Mississippi State. He did struggle in his year and a half with the Commanders. He played in 20 games, started just 7 games, allowed 46 receptions on 69 targets over parts of the last 2 seasons. But what tells me the Rams are high on this dude, and I've heard that he's already taken big steps forward, is they claimed him off waivers, and the Rams are taking on the remainder of his contract, and that comes with an average annual salary of $3.85 million per season. His rookie deal goes through 2026. He has a 5th-year option for 2027 if the Rams decide to pick it up. But I think that the Rams are saying, okay, give us one corner that we can trust. Darius Williams, Ahkello Witherspoon, Kobe Durant. And then give us the upside play at another spot and Emanuel Forbes, and then we have enough depth to go around. You got Josh Wallace. You have Charles Woods. So, yes, he's going to be competing for time, but the cupboard is not bare. It's really not. I mean, you got Kobe Durant and Darius Williams. And Kobe Durant, he's expected to start. Darius Williams is back. So, yeah, those are the only 2 corners that played in meaningful snaps for an extended run alongside Ahkello Witherspoon, but you got guys that have familiarity, guys that have shown that, hey, this is a Rams team that has won double-digit games the last 2 seasons, that has won a playoff game, and you added at other parts of the roster, and you got young talent that's still getting better, right? So there's no reason to think this team can't compete. I just think that this team is going to get creative, and Forbes could be that guy. If Forbes emerges at that price, Forbes is going to be given some runway to show what he can do. He's got those long arms. He's got a nose for the football. There is that little taste of kind of special potential with him. And I also think, too, another thing to consider is they like the flexibility and the versatility they have with the safeties and pairing them with cornerbacks. You've got Cam Kinchins, you got Curl, you got Quinn Lake, you got McCullough, and those are all guys that can have success all throughout the field. You got guys that can play the star role. So I think the difference between this Rams team versus other teams around the league is you don't necessarily have those flex guys like the Rams do. They can mix and match in different positions. And also, too, I mean, you look at what they would have had to give up to get Ramsey after they made it clear that they wanted something that was top end. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick, it's a guy that is a name, right? Rams had to give up someone like Quinn Lake, someone like Kinchins, someone like Curl. I mean, one of their top safeties, just like how the Dolphins got one of their top safeties. So I think that where they're at right now and with the current group they have, I think it's just a matter of trusting that you can put guys in spots where you can get the best out of their talent level, right? And the truth is, it's not like all these guys are barbecue brisket, right? It's not like all of these guys are going to just crumble against elite wide receivers. Like, it's even great cornerbacks lose battles against great wide receivers, right? This is an offensive heavy league in the NFL in 2025. So look, I mean, I think that the Rams tell you a lot by how they prioritize certain things. And right now they want elite, but it has to come with a couple of caveats there. And that is that, hey, we want guys that we can grow with. We want guys that we're going to get at the peak of their powers. We don't want to pay for the decline, right? We want to pay for tomorrow's, not yesterday's. And I think that this is an indication with that. And look, on paper, Darius Williams, Kelly Witherspoon, Kobe Durant, hey, you got to think that at least one of those three is going to have an above average season. And then if Akello, who's just been kind of solid-ish, has high upside moments at times, can just have a repeat type of year for him. And then Durant's a guy, hey, can that light bulb turn on all the way in the last year of his rookie contract? It's great to have players that have all the incentive in the world to try to perform when they're looking to get extensions and bigger deals. And then I think Forbes is the guy I'm most excited about. I mean, when I saw this deal, I was like, okay, Emanuel Forbes is a thing. I mean, you could say he could be a thing. I think he is a thing. And I've heard he is a thing. So don't discount that move. Maybe if the Rams last season don't claim Emanuel Forbes, maybe they're a little more in a desperate situation where they feel like they really have to upgrade this team and try to go that route. But, hey, don't feel terrible about the cornerback group. I think that from a development standpoint, too, we talked about them having the possibility of making a trade, and they could certainly do that at the deadline. But if you're going to develop someone that you think could have a chance, if you trade for someone and that guy you're developing that was already your high upside guy, that was your lottery ticket in Forbes, well, then you're going to bury that guy. So it really makes sense that this process is playing out the way it is, because now you see what you have, you see how guys are performing this season, and then, hey, in the event that someone becomes available who we don't know right now because we don't know who the contenders are, who the obvious sellers are going to be, then you can pivot to that if you need to. But I still have a lot of faith in this team, and I have faith in the roster, and I still think that the guys that they do have in the secondary, they're not great possibly, but I think they're good enough. And if you can have a cornerback group in the 15 range, right mid-level to even 10 to 15, anywhere in that range, you're going to be doing cartwheels in front of SoFi Stadium, because that's all you really need to win with this group. Let's not forget how stacked this defensive line and these edge rushers are. Jared Verse, Braden Fizz, Kobe Turner, list goes on and on. So I feel good about this group, and I still feel like you take a deeper examination of this thing, and it really kind of lays the groundwork for, so they think that Forbes could be a guy. And I think that's what this tells me. But coming up next, should the Rams have gotten more for Jalen Ramsey after seeing today's trade? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, here in our third segment, we're going to talk about the Jalen Ramsey trade, but not the Steelers one per se, the one the Rams made in 2023. Should the Rams have gotten a bigger package in return for Jalen Ramsey when they trade him a few years ago? Well, using this most recent trade, the Steelers receive cornerback Jalen Ramsey, tight end Jonnu Smith, a 2027 7th-round pick. The Dolphins get safety Minka Fitzpatrick, and then after Fitzpatrick, get a 2027 5th-round pick. So it's similar to the Rams deal from the sense that when you move off of Jalen, the Dolphins, they can get out from underneath his contract that was going to have a estimated $18 million cap hit in 2026. That's going to go up to $31 million in 2028. And Ramsey gets that raise that we talked about. But with the Dolphins, what they got for Ramsey, it's on paper more significant in the sense that you're getting a all-pro level safety, still under 30 years old. How good is he at this stage? That's debatable. I think that the performance has gone down, but the Rams, they got Hunter Long in a 3rd-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. And the Dolphins, they got a Pro Bowl safety who was a first-team All-Pro a few years ago. And operative word, a few years ago. But I think that, sure, you could make the case that Miami, they've already made it clear they were going to trade Ramsey. They didn't have a ton of leverage, but they still were able to get more than the Rams did. Fine, you can make that case. But what I would say to that is, who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? You use that pick to get Byron Young, who has worked out, and you also won the Super Bowl. And Jalen Ramsey was a part of that. So does that have anything to do with what you're able to get from him? Not in the sense that they're related, but it's in the sense that, hey, you moved off a guy that you were just ready to move on from. You wanted to acquiesce to his trade demand. You want to get him out of there. And you kind of said, okay, based on where our roster was at, we didn't need a Minka Fitzpatrick in return, right? We wanted to build our own roster the way we did it. And sure, you could point to Robert Woods and guys like that who it feels like the Rams didn't get enough for, or whatever it may be. But look, the truth of the matter is that in the Jalen Ramsey original transaction, that a lot of this had to do with the fact that, hey, the Rams needed to move on. They were ready to move on. They had $20 million in cap space, which you could have taken on Ramsey's salary this time around. They didn't do it. They didn't do it because they have a very specific plan for the way they want to construct their roster. And if it wasn't for Jalen Ramsey kind of being who he is, maybe he doesn't need that. Maybe he does want to just go for a team to compete. But clearly that was not the case here. So, look, I mean, a lot of people thought it was going to be just a day 3 pick. I mean, think about this. A lot of people said that getting Jalen Ramsey was just going to be about absorbing the money, and all it would take was a day 3 pick. Well, clearly that's not the case. And clearly that's not the case because you got a future draft pick and a Pro Bowl level player in terms. So kudos to the Dolphins, but I also think too that Minka Fitzpatrick isn't for everyone, right? I think that he's at this stage of his career, yeah, he's a difference maker for his position, but I don't think that every team around the league would be saying, oh, we want a Minka Fitzpatrick, because last year his overall grade 68.4. That was 52 out of 171. Coverage grade, down. Run defense grade, down. Pass rushing grade, down. He's trending in the wrong direction for his career. So sure, if he rekindles his all-pro status with the Dolphins, then I would say, great, good for you. I'm happy for you, right? But there's no guarantee of that. So we'll see how this plays out, but this might just be, okay, they got the pick, and that was it. I mean, he's going to provide some value, but I don't think that you view this as, oh, they're getting some guy in return. No, they're getting a guy that was included in that deal because of his familiarity with that organization and the fact that he was kind of a bad apple in Pittsburgh at the end of his time there. So I'm not mad at it. Like I said, I'm not going to lose sleep over the package that the Rams got for Ramsey originally. I look at it as, hey, you got Byron Young with that deal, and the Rams have been building through the draft the last couple of seasons, and they are where they are because of those draft picks. And I still feel like today was a good day for the Rams. I really do. I think we're going to look back, and I don't think that this time next year we're going to be saying to ourselves, man, the Rams would have won the Super Bowl had they have just made that move for Jalen Ramsey. I just don't feel like that's the case. Would it have been nice under the right circumstances, at the right price? It absolutely would have. But when you look at this deal right now and the fact that the Rams have other guys you got to pay and you want to maintain that flexibility and you have quality guys internally that you feel good about, I think I'm totally fine with this. So, guys, I know every listeners will be happy because this show is going to go from Locked On Ramsey to Locked On Rams. Actually, it was Locked On Rams, okay? That was overblown. We were hitting all these topics. But we will not be talking about Jalen Ramsey for a long time on this show. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.